And so we are going to go now live to Poland to have a chat with the Minister of Equality for Poland, Katarzyna Kotula. Katarzyna, we miss you. We wish that you were here with us, but I know that you have business to take care of in Poland. Bearing in mind that Poland is now taking over the Council presidency of the European Union, what agenda do you have for gender equality? Pushing that, making sure it happens, making sure that we don't have pushbacks. What is the plan? What is your strategy?
Thank you very much. I am indeed really sorry for not being with you, but there are many things happening right now in Poland. Just in the face of the Polish presidency starting at the beginning of January, we have had a big conference about mobbing at work, at workplace today, with the Ministry of Family and Labor, with the Ministry of Culture. So we had to be present in the Polish Parliament, but I'm glad to be joining you, and I want to thank you for this possibility. So dear EIGE representatives, Commissioner Labib, members of the European Parliament, members of civil society, and representatives of member states, I want to thank you first and foremost for your work and the commitment to the values around gender equality and inclusiveness. I know all too well how important it is to build strong fundamentals for equal treatment and gender equality. As being the head of the Department for Equal Treatment at the Prime Minister's office in the new government, and first historic Minister for Equality in the new government, I am rebuilding or building up something that hasn't been built or hasn't been even touched for many, many years. We feel that the Polish presidency is coming at a very special time, a very chaotic time, and we feel the responsibility and the burden, but we are also very happy to be leading the way for the next 6 months, starting just in January. When it comes to the priorities of the Polish presidency and the motto of the Polish presidency, the motto of the Polish presidency is Security Europe. And when we say security, we mean security in all different dimensions. So the priorities of the Polish presidency will include the discussion about the rapidly developing AI and the threats or benefits it can have to gender equality. We will focus on cyber violence because we know not only women politicians suffer from it, but also younger girls that engage into activism, that are present within the civil society. We will be tackling the minority problems, and since we'll be meeting in April in Poland, we will be talking about the Roma community. We will also touch upon the topic of men and boys' rights, because we are fully aware that we have to have men and boys on board, not to face another backlash. The Beijing platform, of course, will be also at the center of our attention, and the new strategies. We will be happy to take part in the discussion about what should be included in the new strategies and about the missing points in the strategies that are coming to its end. I'm thinking about the gender equality and also the challenges we have right now in Poland in building and mainstreaming gender equality and equal treatment. That on the one hand, Poland is a success story, and we, after 8 dark times, we have a new beginning. We want to become a role model for other European member countries and show everybody how a real change is possible. But at the same time, the society is changing rapidly. So when we talk about gender equality, we are fully aware that we have to take into account that this gender equality we will be dealing with is taking part in a modern digital society. We are seeing the society in its great diversity, which is a strength, but intersectionality and a holistic approach to the topic of equality also needs to include minorities, combating violence, domestic violence, but also combating and fighting gender-based violence, also discrimination. I'm happy to tell you that one of the biggest changes that this government has already finished is the hate speech and broadening the criminal code with new premises. We added the age, we added sexual orientation, gender, and disability. So this very new EIGE report, which concerns the Equality Index, show us that when it comes to equality, of gender equality in Europe, there is still a lot of work to do. Poland is occupying the 18th place with 63.4 points on 100. It means there is still a lot of work to do. We are determined to show that within the next upcoming 3 years, but also during our presidency, Poland will put its full commitment into making it better. Poland is a very special place. There is a war just over the border. We have we opened our hearts and our houses to almost 2 million migrants, mostly women and children, and they have stayed with us. They have traveled to other countries, but they have also gone back to Ukraine. We want Poland to be a safe place for them. So our role is to make Poland safe, free from violence, free from mobbing, free from discrimination place for women, for the minorities, but also for war refugees. This special 6-month time will be a time where we will also remind you that we need your cooperation. We also need your assistance, and we need your support, because together we are stronger and we can bring the change faster. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Kotula. I hope you can hear the applause all the way from Brussels. We appreciate you being part of our closing session. Please welcome in the flesh, live on the stage, our closing session speakers, Maria Arnott and Chris Tonis. Maria, Chris, so good to have you here. How has the forum, the day and a half, been for you?
Great, amazing.
Great. Okay,
amazing.
You're in sync, and that's a good sign. I'm going to ask you this first as young participants. What are your takeaways from this forum, this gathering? Mm-hmm. Chris, you start.
Yeah, this forum has been extremely insightful, I would say, for my part. It has given me the opportunity to engage a lot with people that in any other circumstance I wouldn't have. But at the same time, it has taught me a lot about gender equality, about the issues surrounding it. We talked a lot about intersectionality, whether it was something that was intended to happen or not. It was something that occurred organically, and I think that shows a lot about the participation in the issues that are concerning young people today. So I was really glad to have that opportunity. But also, in general, when it comes to gender equality, it gave me the ability and the insights I needed to take with me and actually influence the communities that I'm in, right? So my workplace, my studies, and actually provide this new gender equality perspective.
It's quite difficult to summarize this event in like a few short sentences, but I would say one topic that came up in almost every discussion or session would be the topic of intersectionality. It is really important to speak about this always and everywhere when we speak about equality and achieving equality in the European Union. However, when I spoke with the other youth participants, it often felt like it was always, not always, but a lot of times something which is just in something we want to tick off from a box, and it feels like it comes more naturally to the youth participants rather than the policymakers and the decision makers we heard over the last day and a half. And we were speaking and thinking about how we could have like a closer intergenerational dialogue, just to make sure that we can learn from policymakers, but at the same time, they can also learn from us.
I love that, because there was a moment, I'm sure we all have conversations that will stay with us for a long time. So I had a conversation yesterday evening with some young participants, and they said, our views and our ideas, we're being consulted, but we're not leading.
Exactly.
And then those consultations are curated. So only a bit of what we feel is important gets to be strategy or policy. So how do we have forums and gatherings like this where young people's perspectives and views are included? We're truly inclusive, not just pick a mix, but including. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think platforms like this forum are something that really help young people be at the forefront, at the table that decisions are being made. And like you said, this is not something that we get often, right? We don't have the opportunity to be in the same room with policymakers, with lawmakers and people that will directly affect the way that we experience our society today and the way that our children and grandchildren would be able to do so. So when we are in these gatherings and we have the opportunity to directly talk to lawmakers and policymakers, ask them questions, get feedback, understand why things work the way they do, and actually see our opinions be heard in a very meaningful and impactful way, that gives me a lot of hope. And I think it's something that a lot of EU institutions, local governments, national governments should take into account when considering next steps for gender equality.
Can you tell the difference between performative inclusivity and real inclusivity?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Just share that with our space.
I think all the young participants in the audience will be able to understand that, because, for example, when we're talking about gender equality today, right, and we're using gender binary terms, right, when we see gender equality strategies that are written in a way that are not really inclusive of how us young people perceive gender, right, because our generation, I would say, has been... Thank you.
If you had any doubt where the young people in the room are, they'll be the ones applauding. And also the director, who's young at heart.
And I think that's really meaningful, right? Because our generation has been, I would say, one of the first to actually push against the gender binary and try to promote these different types of gender identities and bring forward different types of self-expression that really make up who we are as entities. And I think it's really important for our discussions around gender equality to include that and not go against the progress that we've made so far.
It's hard, Maria, though, isn't it, to really, truly be inclusive?
Yes.
Because it's debating, you've got to be feisty, you've got to push back. What would be your guidance?
I think it's also, when we speak about making spaces more inclusive for young people, and especially like with this forum, to understand that even the youth participants here, we're a very special group in like we come, I would not speak for all of the youth participants, but we come from similar, I would say, socioeconomic backgrounds. Most of us went to university, most of us, we did our first traineeship, internship before, and I think for a lot of young people who are not represented here today, they don't have these opportunities, and we try to also speak for them, because they are not here with us today, and we need to acknowledge this, that we are, us young people being here today is also a very big privilege. So I think, yeah. And especially when we speak about the equality sector, it feels like there's not a lot of funding and financial things in place for us to benefit from. For example, when I started my traineeship in Brussels, I had to relocate, and for that I needed some extra money, like to pay my deposit, for example. And I didn't have that just laying around, so I had to ask my parents if they can help me with this. And if they would not have done so, then I would have had to decline the opportunity to enter these spaces. So I think that's something we also need to consider and make measurements, and these measurements have to come from EU institutions and from above. That's something we just we ask for and we want, but that's something we hope can change in the future.
Let's think. This is about to be the longest session in the forum because every question is then ended with applause, but don't let me stop you. Keep it going. We are talking about gender equality and we're sitting in Europe, so this is quite a Eurocentric forum. What do you think and feel are the biggest challenges for gender equality to thrive in Europe, Chris?
I think the one thing that I've discussed with my peers in the forum and that has been brought up in a lot of sessions is regarding the rise in far-right politics and extremist politics and rhetorics that truly impact both our generation, especially young men in our generation, but also future generations. It's something I'm observing with my brother. He's 13 years old, and I'm seeing the way that the things that he sees on social media and the way that impacts his opinions, his interactions with his peers is something that truly worries me. And sometimes I feel like I get consumed in this fear. I get kind of, I believe that, this is unsalvageable and nothing can be done. And I don't think this is right by any means. I think the work that we're doing here and the initiatives that start from these conversations are truly impactful. And it's something that on a European level can be done. And these platforms are so impactful. But it's something that we have to consider when we're talking about strategies, right? We have to understand the opposing side of you, the people that that are not in these rooms, the people that completely oppose the values and the topics we're talking about here these days, right? And see how can we combat that in a constructive way and in a way that can give us optimism, but can actually give us real results. And I think that's a very tough challenge, and this is why these forums exist. But with constructive criticism and always having young people, right, the people that are going to be having the future legislation power, the people that are going to be shifting and creating society anew, including young people in these conversations, I think is paramount to solving this.
Maria, what concerns you about gender equality thriving in Europe?
I think also for me it's the rise of the far right, just because they would not want me to be in Europe, just because I am a woman of color. So it's something that is scary that is happening. And also that in the last few weeks, I went to some committee meetings in the parliament, and also that there is just the way they speak about things. It's very, very hateful and very, it doesn't feel comfortable to be there anymore. They attack each other, and it's a very hostile environment. And just how we can tackle the acceptance of the rise of the far right, because they got voted into the parliament, and they got voted in many countries in Europe, and there are people who believe that that's what they want for the future of Europe. And the biggest challenge is to how to speak with them and how to have impactful conversations with them, to shift their narratives, maybe that they reconsider their ideas. And that sounds, it's difficult, but it's a big challenge. And I think also speaking with 50 youth participants in the last day and a half, I feel hopeful speaking with them. I got inspired. I'm motivated to continue to do this work, and I hope we can move forward with tackling these challenges we are having right now.
All right, scale of 1 to 10, where is your hope? 10 is off the charts, 1 is, oh man, what do I do? I need to go and spend some time with Chris and Maria to lift my spirits. All right, scale of 1 to 10, Maria, where are you?
I would say 7.
7,
Yes.
okay, Chris.
I would mirror that, yeah.
7, man, room for improvement, for
Always,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
What I admire greatly about this Gender Equality Forum is that it came in at the beginning saying we want to include youth voices, youth participation. It is part of the way we're putting together this forum. If we're thinking about collaboration with young people, youth voices, in every single place that we are pushing gender equality, what do we need to be thinking about? Maria, you start. Chris, you finish.
I think it's important to we started this discussion just by us being here, and I think we cannot stop now. We have to continue maybe with these 50 youth participants who are here, continue cooperating with them, collaborating, keeping them in the loop of what's going on and making it accessible, because I often also feel like if you enter these spaces where policymakers sit there who have been doing this for many, many years, you often feel not belittled, but maybe, oh, I don't know about this topic so much. Maybe, am I supposed to be here? Like, is it... yes, so I think, yes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that, like I said before, having this platform is super crucial, and I think it's not the best we can do, but it's a huge stepping stone. It's a huge stride towards bridging that gap, that space, if you will, between the institutions and the general public, right? And especially young people. So this is really important, and I think it's something that, like I said before, more institutions should take note of. But also, I think something really important that we should take into consideration is the way that we approach conversations surrounding gender equality should definitely be more inclusive of the way that young people perceive gender equality, right? So like I said before, instead of talking in binary terms, we should be more acceptive of how we perceive these issues, and of course how we want to see them move forward, what policies, what ideas we want to push. And I think if these two very fundamental things, right, so accessibility and having this openness in conversations, were to be implemented, we have a much brighter future ahead and bigger steps to take for gender equality.
How long do you think that might take? Because I'm thinking 5, 10 years, you will be convening your own gender equality forum events, getting people together, leading them. Will it take that long? Will it be shorter? Because we're talking it's a generational way of thinking, correct?
It is, but I mean, it depends on the willingness of
Right.
people that host these events. It depends on the willingness of our politicians, the people that we elect. And I think the more we focus on who we elect as young people, of course, but also who do we entrust in holding these conversations and allowing us to be in these spaces, the quicker this change can be done. So it's, at the moment, it is not in our hands, unfortunately. We do the best that we can. We attend places like these. We speak our minds as much as possible. And we just hope that the next people we elect, or the people that are currently in governments and in places of power, actually give us the ability to speak.
This is why Forum, Chris and Maria, are the closing session speakers, because of how they phrase what is needed for the future, because they are our future. Thank you so much, Chris, Maria. Just going to check in on Slido about how you're feeling. Dr. Slido will tell us. Oh my goodness. Okay, hopeful is the biggest. That's great. Hope, excited, inspired, conflicted. Those are the biggest words. You can see the rest for the word cloud. That is after a day and a half of discussions at the Gender Equality Forum. We are going to wrap up in the way that we started, with the chair of our forum, and that is Carleen Schraler. Carleen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I feel almost sorry to step in and having you finish your interesting conversation, Maria and Chris. Many, many thanks for speaking and wrapping up at the end of the session. And yeah, I think, the 50 youth participants, let's also agree that we will keep in touch, that we will keep listening to you, and certainly that we give you an important voice in Eike's work. I took a few notes, but let me first say that for me, like the previous forum, it was 2 fabulous, exciting days, and I hope the same goes for you. I saw the Slido words on the screen, so it gives me hope that we achieved our goal, to bring you all together, to have you exchange ideas, to learn from each other, and to get hope and energy. So I have taken a few notes of what I have learned in these 2 days. So let me share with you a few of my takeaways. Maybe something I knew before we came to this forum is, of course, the results of the Gender Equality Index, where unfortunately we see again that progress is slow. But I think we also spoke with each other, exchanged ideas, and I think together we can really make a change here. We also saw that, unfortunately, women continue to carry disproportionate caregiving burdens, leading to discrimination and higher poverty risks. And then, of course, the violence against women. I spoke about the GBV survey that we published last week. Really, this is one thing I am so scared about, and it worries me so much that it continues to persist at alarming rates. And I repeat again, 1 in 3 women in the EU experiences gender-based violence. And I keep saying to people, look around you in the room, look around you in your workplace, at a bus stop, in the streets, and think about these data. Harrowing stories of cyber violence and intersectional challenges like those faced by migrant women highlight the urgency for change. What I quite liked at the beginning of the forum was how Raresh Voiku of the Youth Forum said, every gap, because we tend to look at gaps, no? That's what we do in the index, and that's how we speak at EIGE. When we collect data, we look at gaps between women and men. But he turned it into a positive notion, saying every gap is a space waiting to be filled with equality, opportunity, and hope. And I think personally that's a great way to think about the challenges that lie ahead of us. And I also really appreciated how he spoke from his heart. I think that's what we should do, speak from our heart. Of course, data, information is telling, but we spoke from our hearts together with each other in 2 days, these 2 days. The EU's new roadmap on women's rights and also the new post-2025 gender equality strategy will give us strong foundations. But again, that's documents, that's paper. And I keep saying paper doesn't save anything. It doesn't save women's lives. Paper is good. It's good to have strategies, to have legislation, to have strategies that will support us. But it comes down to implementation and to action. And as Nicolae Stefanutu from the Parliament reminded us, anti-gender movements are trying to divide and weaken us. And let's agree that we push back. I think very often we're just too humble, or we don't really know what to say. We heard it again today. Let's push back, because really, united, we are stronger. Lina Schilling, the youngest MEP, urged us to fight with heart and passion for true equality, like also did Maria and Chris, by the way. Gender equality is worthy prize in itself. But I think for me the main takeaway, hearing about the real lived experiences of women and men in all that diversity, has moved me the most in these 2 days. I celebrate inspiring stories like that of Commissioner Hadja Labib, who said that as a child of an Algerian migrant, her rise defied expectations. She told us, I was not expected to go to university, to become a war reporter, a special envoy, and television anchor, foreign minister, and now European Commissioner. But here I am. That's what she said. And I truly hope that her story speaks to each of you. Whatever challenge you face, whatever you start, you can say, "Here I am." Because the path to change begins when we refuse to let others define our limits. To make change, we must focus our messages and reach the right audiences. This is really important for me as well. Also, something important for my agency, if we really want to make change, if we really want to reach people's hearts and minds. I mean, they won't move because we ask them to move. They won't change because we say to them it's important to change. They will only do this if we really touch them. As Maria said, I was with you in the parliament. I have heard those stories, and I think it is my duty, everyone's duty who speaks in the parliament, to really try to reach people's hearts and minds, just to reach out with the right messages. And now I have a request to all of you, because at EIGE, we will continue to deliver robust and high-quality research. But we really need your help to turn evidence into action. We can't do it on our own. We need you. Please share what you have learned in this forum. Please share it with your connections, your family, and your colleagues. Again, we can't do it on our own. You can't do it on your own. We need each other. Together, we can keep the momentum alive and drive real progress. Before I close, I would like to thank a few people. And now I go back to my first page, a bit of gymnastics. First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers, the panelists, you, of course, for being with us, and the organizers. And I would like to extend my special thanks to my EIGE team. You have gone through months of preparation. It was a huge job. And it was so nice to see many of you here as speaker panelists. But I would like to specifically thank two people, Nicole and Asta. I don't know if you're in the room. Nicole, the project manager. Asta, working with her. You have really, really done a tremendous job, and I wish that you go home and you sleep for weeks. Okay, let me really close now. I truly look forward to seeing you all back in 2 years, because I think we have really concluded now that this is a great formula to continue. And I hope that when we see each other again in 2 years, we are ready to celebrate our achievements and take on new challenges. Many, many thanks for being here on this journey together. Have safe travels back home and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
What a fantastic day and a half it has been. It might not seem like it, but we have had 28 sessions, over 100 speakers. This has been a momentous gathering, and as I said yesterday, the largest and most politically significant gathering for gender equality that Europe has ever seen. It's been an absolute pleasure to be one of your co-hosts alongside Femi.
Thank you so much. My name is Femi Oke. Your name is?
Guy Deza.
And you are now officially released. The Gender Equality Forum 2024 is now officially closed.